Hey everyone, Casey here, and I'm back again with another Unity tutorial. This time we're going to be going over another built-in Unity feature that I think is very useful, and we're going to use it to make a very simple character movement script. And what we're going to be using is a component in Unity called the character controller. So once again, as always, if you do not like listening to people talk, I have released the same video except it's shorter because I'm not talking, I'm not explaining, I'm not taking any detours, I'm just going straight through and I'm doing it. So if you don't want to listen to me talk or if you don't like listening to anyone talk, I've put the link in the description to the other video, and so feel free to head over there and listen to that. All right, so for those of you still with me, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is I've created a scene. I've just called it basic, and that's just what I'm going to use. So I'm going to go to Game Object. I'm going to go to 3D Object. I'm going to go to Plane, and I'm going to create myself a plane. And this is going to act as our ground. So next, what I want to do is I want to go to 3D Object. I want to go to Capsule, and we'll add a capsule. This is going to act as our player. So first, let's move our player up a little. And this is not much of a ground or movement area, so let's go ahead and duplicate these. But first I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to create a parent object, and I'm going to call it ground. And I'm going to drag plane inside of here. Also, with the player and the ground being the same color, it's going to be kind of hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my project view. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to create a folder called materials. And I'm going to create a couple of materials here. Tutorials, yes, too. So I'm going to go to material, and I'm going to call this one ground. So I'm going to, let's see, try and get this as close to maybe brown as I can. That seems okay. I'm going to drag and drop this. And the cool thing about this is if you change the color of the material, it'll go ahead and change objects that have it. So if you can see I'm going here, it's automatically changing it for us. But anyway, yeah, I think that's probably fine for just for the simple tutorial. And one other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another material, and I'm going to call this one shades. And I'm going to make it black, and you're going to see why right now. So on my capsule, I'm going to left click, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to 3D object, and I'm going to find a cube. All right, let's mess with the scale. I'm going to click on the scaling tool up here. I'm going to make this short, thin. Can't see anything right now, but in a second, all right, you can see that out, and I'm going to drag the shades material on there. Oh, did I drag ground on there? I sure did. Okay, shades. I'll just go in. There we go. So now we can kind of see which direction is the front-facing direction for our player. All right, so, and I'll just to be correct, I'm going to rename that player. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it scripts. Now you don't have to create a folder. This is just, for organizational purposes. While I'm trying to make simple tutorials, I'm also trying to teach maybe some organizational skills or some good habits as well. So we're going to call this player move, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my player. I'm going to drag this script onto it, and I'm going to double click to open this. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and leave those in here now. So the first thing we want to do, I'm going to create a few variables. The first one's going to be, let's see, let's say private character controller mycc. I'm not some genius who comes up with clever names. This is a very common naming convention used by a lot of people who want to reference the character controller. All right, the next one, let's create a public float move speed, and a public float, oh, damn, float rotation speed. All right, and I like to make a little separation, keep like variables together, but you don't have to do that. And instead of public, you could make this a serialized field if you were trying to be like make the variable private, but still able to change its value in the inspector, but I'll go into that in a later tutorial. All right, so let's go ahead and first get started with what we have. So in my start method, I'm going to type myCC, that we're going to get that character controller variable we just created, and I'm going to say it equals get component character controller. Now what this is doing is it's whatever game object the script is attached to, it's going to check for a component called character controller and assign that to be what this variable is right here. So there we go. All right, and then so now let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to call a couple of methods that I haven't created yet. Basic movement, do that, and I'm going to get an error because it doesn't exist. So I'm going to create it. Void basic movement. There we go. And in this, I'm going to say, so what we're having basic movement being called every frame, which is what we want for movement. We want to be checking for that all the time. So let's go, oh, whoops. We're going to do some if statements. If input dot get key code dot w. So what this does is this listens, or this basically checks to see if a key on your keyboard is being pressed. Or in this case, sometimes it can be a mouse button, but in this case, we're listening for the W key to be pressed on our keyboard. And we're going to say myCC.move, which is a built-in method in the character controller that Unity provided for us. And we're going to say transform.forward times time.delta time times move speed. All right, and that should be good there. And let's go ahead and see what we have here. So we're going to go back to our Unity scene. We're going to let this load in real quick. We want to go ahead and set our move speed. We want to give it some type of value, so let's say 10. And we don't want to forget to add the character controller component right here. So you can just type in CHA and right there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let's see, game. All right, there's no camera. Let's go ahead and add a camera to the scene. Create camera. And let's just make this a top-down camera for now. Yeah. And let's see what happens. I'm going to press W and we move forward. But of course, unfortunately, we don't do anything else, and this is a small level. So let's go ahead and actually duplicate some of these. Give ourselves more of an area to work with. And I think that should be good for now. Let's see what our camera looks like here. Let's maybe kind of far up there. Maybe give it a little rotation so we can be a little closer but kind of still see what it's doing. So anyway, so let's see what this looks like. All right, so that looks a little better. And we're moving forward, but we're not moving anywhere else. So let's go ahead and add some other movement. So we're going to go to first person. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it 3 more times. Let's see, change that to S, change that to A, change that to D, and it's going to be very simple to make these work for what we need. So for S, we're just going to say, instead of transform.forward, we're going to say negative transform.forward. For A, we're going to say transform.right, but this is going to be going left, so we're going to say negative. And then over on D, where we want to go right, we're going to say transform.right. And, just for, good habits again, we can say move forward, move back, move left, and move right. So that way you have some comments. All right, so now let's see what happens. We're going to go back and we're going to press play. All right, nice. So we have ourselves a good little movement. I'm just WASD. We're fast, but that's okay. And all right, Cool. So one thing we're missing though is we probably want our character to rotate. We don't want just want them to be going, you know, straight but just looking forward the whole time. That's not going to be very useful. So let's go back and I'm going to create another method and I'm going to say basic rotation. This method doesn't exist either, so I'm going to once again go void basic rotation. Cool. So now we have that, and now this one's going to be a lot simpler. We're just going to say float mouse x equals input dot get axis mouse x, and we're going to say times time dot delta time times rotation speed. And the reason we use time dot delta time is that, it's kind of more like every, second or so rather than, every frame, because if it changed every frame, it would be so fast we probably wouldn't even see it. All right, and then so next we want to say transform dot rotate, and we'll say new vector 3, and we'll say 0 comma mouse x comma 0. Oh, whoops. Comma 0. Ah, nice. Love how Visual Studio just kind of fixed the formatting for you. All right, so what this does is, Unity has a lot of predefined axes, mouse X, horizontal, vertical, mouse Y. And so we just want to get what the mouse X position is because left and right is X. We don't want to go up and down for this tutorial. So let's see what happens. First, we want to go to our player and we want to give ourselves a rotation speed, otherwise that code we just wrote is going to multiply by 0. I like to go big on that and say 100. So let's see what happens. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, there we go, nice. All right, so we have our character moving, we have them rotating. If we move backwards, it rotates. All right, yeah, so I think that's pretty good. So in a later tutorial, I'm going to take this same script, but I'm going to show you guys how to make a first-person controller and a third-person controller. So keep an eye out for that tutorial. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments. If you have something you'd like to see in other videos and future videos, just also in the comments put what type of topics you'd like to see. Hope you guys like this. Please subscribe or at least give the video a like. I'd really appreciate it. Well, until next time, have a great day, guys.